Welcome everyone to Mobile Rolling, another episode here. We've got a very special guest, recently appointed Director of Harness Racing SA, Nicole Rantanen, is going to have a chat with us. We'll find out about Nicole and what she loves about harness racing. So we'll be back after the break to talk with Nicole. Well, we promised Nicole Rantanen was going to be with us. Hi Nicole, how are you?
Very well, thank you, and delighted to be here and really appreciate the opportunity.
It's our pleasure. We just want to find out about the person that's on the board now. So it was October 1st you were allocated as being a director on the board. One of many that you've got in your career, but let's just talk about Harness Racing SA.
Yep.
Why did you want to be a director of Harness Racing SA?
Sure. Look, I'm horse racing mad.
Yeah.
My earliest childhood memories are walking around to the local pub with my grandfather so that he could put his bets on. I was bribed with a raspberry and lemonade so that, I would sit quietly while he could do the business.
Yep.
And listening to tab radio on a Saturday afternoon, no commercial TV or anything at that point in time, just on the tab radio, always in the background, flicking between the races and the footy, of course.
Yes.
Just always loved the sport. I'm lucky enough, my husband and I own small shares in around 16 racehorses.
Oh, really?
So we only really, most of the time we own the tail end rather than the nose end that goes across the line first, but we love it. It's an ideal opportunity to go out, to dress up, to just enjoy yourself, be involved in the industry.
Yeah.
So when this opportunity came up, I went, oh, yes, please. I have memories of my late grandparents, all dressed up and going to the harness racing. Okay. Which at that point I think was at Wavell.
Yes.
So I have a natural affinity to it. I've got a board background. I love to help things. I love to be involved, and I'm passionate about everything I do. So perfect opportunity, wanted to be involved, put my name in the ring, and I was lucky enough to be selected. Oh. So really pleased to be involved.
You say lucky, but probably not, because your CV reads pretty big. I mean, you've achieved a lot in your life. You've had targets of different bachelors and fellowships and all sorts of things like that, which you've achieved, and you've got some major roles. I mean, you are the South Australian Public Trustee, aren't you?
I am. Yes, I am lucky, and I shouldn't say I'm lucky. I have worked hard. I've worked hard. I have a Master's in Commercial Law. I'm a fellow of the CPA Accounting Society. Yes, I have qualifications behind me. Yes. Luckily enough to be the first person in my family to go to university, and my parents both worked hard to fund me through school and university. So I did have some luck on my side in that space.
Yep.
But from a career perspective, yes, I am the public trustee. Love my job, mainly because it's an opportunity to help people. And it's generally the most vulnerable people in society. Yes. That come to the public trustee. So that really, I get a sense of community. It's the right thing to do for the community, so I love it. Yeah. I do sit on a number of other boards. I sit on the Cancer Council board. I sit on the Grange Golf Club board.
You're a golfer?
I'm a keen golfer. Yes, very keen. I'm Vice President of the Grange Golf Club. Yeah. Once again, when I'm passionate about something, I want to be involved.
Yes.
So I do that. I'm also on the Department of Rec, Sport and Racing, their Audit and Finance Committee, because of my accounting and legal background. But, my thing is about contributing.
Yeah.
So any way I can. Okay. So I hope that I bring skills to the harness racing board that, complement the other people around the board. And it's all about the industry, growth for the industry, and caring for the participants and wanting to do the right thing.
Yeah. So would it be fair to say that your background, I mean, you're involved in superannuation and finances, so is it a financial background that we're talking about?
Very much a financial background. As the public trustee, I manage about 1.2 billion in assets.
Yes.
I'm also on the board of a credit union, a bank, essentially, although I should say credit union rather than bank.
I'm a credit union person.
You're a credit union member. Well done, thank you. Yes, so I do have a strong financial background, but I match that with a bit of legal as well, so just to add the balance.
You mentioned some of the things, the fellowship, the masters, but also you got a Bachelor
of Commerce, yes.
Of Commerce as well. I didn't go to university, and probably I'm not as smart as people that do, but isn't that a bit sexist, all these labels? Like there's Bachelor, there's Master, Fellow. You're not a man or anything like that. So
I'm a bitzer.
Is this because of the old ways of the male dominating area that they have these labels, which are
I've never really thought of it before.
Males.
From my perspective, it's all about, I've also got an MBA. It's all about learning.
Yes.
And working out how, one of the things I did with my commercial law masters was about sport in the law. Okay. One of my thesis was about, Gay Waterhouse and getting her training license.
Yes.
And, other things about, there was a drug incident in Hong Kong and how that came about, with a public course, race course and the like. So, I've got that interest. Education to me is all about learning and using that learning to, better the community, better society and fix things.
Yeah. And the information gives you that power.
And the information gives you that power. Yeah. So I've never thought of the label before.
Yes.
I'm more about what information I can get and how I can best use that going forward.
Yeah. So tell us what a public trustee does.
Okay, sure. Public trustee, most people think that public trustee is about wills and that type of area and estate management, but the actual biggest area of our business and the growing area of our business is actually looking after people who can't manage their daily affairs due to some type of incapacity, be it, they may be drug addicted, they may have lost some mental capacity, they may not have any family to actually be able to manage their money themselves.
Yes.
That's where we step in and we say, well, we can help you and manage their money. We're pretty much always appointed by a court or a tribunal to help people.
Yep.
And we help them manage their money and their daily lives. Sometimes it's the case of, people can't manage, if we give them, $200 today, they don't necessarily know that needs to last them for the week. So we look to pay them, $50 each every second day so that they can actually manage their money, eat, have accommodation and, live their best life.
Yes. So, I'll tell you what, that's what we need for harness racing. We're got a sport that needs help and needs something to progress. So you're the right person for the job, but you don't have to answer that. Okay, that's just me thinking out loud. But that seems to be the emphasis in your life. You like to help people.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very much so. That I work on a number of boards, and it's about what I can give.
Okay.
Whether it be, my philosophy in life is to say yes to everything.
Okay.
So, you will ask me to do something, I'll say yes, and I'll work out how I'm going to actually achieve that later.
Okay.
But, I like to bring a very positive attitude to things, and I want to do things better, and I want to achieve. So, if there's a will, I'm going to try and find a way.
Yeah. Before we talk about the harness racing side of things, I think I read, was it July this year that Vicky Chapman announced that you're also the Attorney General as well?
No, I wouldn't want to step on her toes, definitely not. No, she's the Attorney General who appoints me as the public trustee.
Okay, all right. So I've got my wires crossed. I told you I needed help today.
No, she's absolutely fantastic. Great minister.
Yeah.
So I'm very lucky to have her as my minister.
Okay. All right. Now, what are you going to do for harness racing? So you've had obviously a chat with the other directors.
Yes.
George Fiarchi is the head honcho, I suppose we could say. What have you got in the melting pot, what do you think might be your plan of attack?
Look, I have to be careful because, I can't speak out of turn of the whole of the board.
Yes.
But I can give you a flavour.
Yep.
So, from an overall perspective, we have a 18-month lease with Globe Derby, which we will honour and we will continue. What we need to do is to have more meetings, more horses, more participants, to actually grow betting revenue.
Yes.
And with the growth in betting revenue, it means that we can provide more prize money, support the industry, and put better infrastructure in as well.
Okay.
So, we are looking at options across the board, in every area. One of the things I actually really appreciated was I was able to go to online in Zoom world nowadays, the AGM for harness racing this year.
Okay.
Absolutely fantastic from my perspective and from a learning perspective, because I could actually I could hear Mario Borg talk about what they're doing at Strath. I could hear the facts, I could understand, you get first-hand information by listening to the people.
Sure.
You could actually go, oh, okay, we're doing something innovative by having a meeting down at Mount Gambier and the other half of the meeting, I think, at Port Pirie.
Yes.
And I sort of went, that's innovative, that's great, So, every time, and each of the country clubs and everybody actually had an opportunity at the AGM to talk about what's happening in their area. And from my perspective, that was a fantastic way to gather information, hear what people want, hear what people need. And that way it means that we can then put a plan in place that actually is representative of what they want.
Okay.
Not what we just, sitting in in an office here think, but it means that we can actually gain information from across the industry to go, right, got it. That's what we need. That's what they're asking for.
Okay, so the cards are dealt and then you try and play with those cards that are there. I suppose I've got a question, getting back to something you said, and probably a lot of people don't realise this, but you might come up with an idea, but if the whole entire group of directors don't think that's the way, do you know at what stage, what sort of voting numbers you need to have for and against to make
at a board level?
Yeah.
Look, most boards that I've been on, including harness racing, it's not, if something gets to a vote, then it's not really where you want to go anyway.
Okay.
Most things are about going, okay, if you can put a rational argument on the table, argue your point, and say, but listen to what other people around the table have to say, most times you can actually come up with a reasonable consensus and put a way forward. Very rarely do you actually ever go to or do I ever go to a board meeting that you sort of, that everyone goes, oh, I'm not very happy with that.
Yeah.
It's more, if you've got a good case and you can argue your point and it's the right thing, if you enter a discussion with the mindset of, is this in the best interest of the industry? Is this in the best interest of participants? Will this further harness racing in South Australia? If you start with those as your key guiding parameters, then, you're very rarely going to come out with everyone not having some form of agreement.
Sure.
There might be a bit of a twinge around the edges that I'd like, that people like to massage a little bit in this space or this space.
Yeah.
But generally you can pretty much come up with a reasonable consensus on a future direction.
Okay.
I mean, we had a strategy day, I think about 2 or 3 weeks ago. Pretty much everyone around the room was in furious agreement with what we want to do and how we want to do it. So I get a fair bit of comfort from the fact that we all want to do the right thing by the industry.
Okay. Can you see any progress? It's. I've been in the industry for a long time, and I've got to say, I think it's declining. So what can we do? What do you think? There's something we can do to make it bounce back to? We'll never get to the halcyon days, in my opinion. But I'd love you to prove me wrong.
I'd love to prove you wrong.
But can you see something that might work to make it bounce back up?
Most definitely. And I can't really expand on that.
Yeah, that's all right. Keep your cards to your chest.
I'd love to. You'll have to ask me in a month or two's time to come back, and I can expand on it. But look, I know our CEO Ross is working on a plan on industry expansion, industry growth that he's going to put to the board about things that we can do that are positive, you know, whether it be increasing the stable numbers, increasing horse numbers, how we can actually increase participation. You know, there's lots of ideas, you know, all milling around on a piece of paper at the moment. We just need to work out which ones we're going to pick and in what sequence.
Yeah. I suppose with my background with the industry, I mean, I started calling the pony races, right? So the pony races are for young children 6 to 16 years of age, and I thought, yeah, this is where we're going to get the young drivers coming through. When I first started calling pony races, it was back in 1985. 90% of the children that participated in the pony races went on to drive in the standardbred racing. Now, be lucky if it's 5% of the children that participate. So that avenue seems to have stopped. Another avenue, of course, was getting people to the trots, and you'd get new blood into the training and driving system because they'd go to the trots and they'd fall in love with the sport.
Yes.
But now we can't get people to the trots. So it's, I don't know what areas you can find, but if you can find them, that'd be fantastic to make things happen.
I know that Ross is quite interested in the model that they run in Hong Kong.
Okay.
Where they sponsor apprentices, and the Hong Kong Jockey Club also buys horses. You know, so that, you know, it's a way of, if the Hong Kong Jockey Club owns the horses, puts the horses in races, that's how you then purchase in. Because as a person entering the industry, I've, you know, spoken to Mario a few times and said, well, how do I go about buying a pacer or a trotter? How does that happen?
Yeah.
And the fact that, you know, me being on the board, I don't know, it means that, you know, there's a market there that's, you know, not yet tapped. The same as, you know, thoroughbred racing recently, I think about a year ago, ran a, you know, Dare to Dream competition. You know, whether it was successful or not, it was something different.
Yes.
So I think, especially in our industry, when there's so many competing things for money, you know, there's so many sports.
Sure.
You know, we've got to make it easy for people to participate. Got to make it easy for people to get in. You know, gone are the days when, you know, there used to be my girlfriend. Well, when I was younger and I used to play tennis. We used to go across the road. Her father used to have a sulky in his shed, and also, you know, and we used to go pat the horse.
Yeah.
You know, gone are the days of on your suburban block having, you know, your horse stable there and your sulky hanging up in the shed.
Sure.
You know, so we've got to be a little bit more, you know, smart about the way we do things. You know, people live in apartments now. So, you know, how do we house things? How do we make it easy for people to get involved in the sport? Yeah. So, you know, they're all things that we need to, as a board, start to think about, start to work through.
Yep.
No easy solution to anything. I think one of the things I raised at my interview was, a lot of sport is tribal and community. You know, why are we not, you know, having people, you know, I don't know about you, but, you know, talk to your local sporting football club. Yes. You know, okay, you wear, you know, a black and red Guernsey. Right, well, on Saturday night, we're going to have a horse and it's going to be in your, you know, jockey, in your colours. Yes. Silk's in your colours. You know, come along to the races, support your coloured horse. Yep. Or something like that. You know, yep. Work with the tribal attitude, you know, that has worked so well for football and other sports. You know, embrace it, work at, you know, yes, I like my horses racing in, you know, my trainer's colours, but, you know, I accept that sometimes I've got to have a bit of change for the benefit of the overall benefit of the sport. Yeah. So there's things to do, there's things to look at. You know, I'm a person that I'm not going to ever die wondering.
Okay.
So...
Is there anything else you want to add before we finish up, Nicole?
No, I'm absolutely delighted to be on the board. I really want to make a positive difference. And one of the things I like to talk to people. So, you know, for example, not a lot of people thoroughly enjoy an AGM, okay. But I really did. listening to everybody speak.
I fall asleep at them.
No. You know, just listening and understanding, you know, I want to embrace the industry. I want to be involved.
Yeah.
I want to talk to the people. So, you know, if anyone sees me or I bump into anyone in any format and you want to talk about horses, horse racing, bring it on.
There you go. There's Nicole Rantanen, bubbly, full of excitement and looking forward to a positive thing towards harness racing in South Australia. Thank you very much, Nicole.
Thank you very much. Greatly appreciate it.
There we go. Nicole Rantanen, the Director of Harness Racing SA.